bookaholics, and welcome back to another reading vlog. In last week's spinner wheel vlog, we've got another challenge. And right, we've got vlog project. I think what I would do then is I will pick something to read this weekend. I'll spin again, pick something to read this weekend, and then I will do a vlog project for next week. So we will stop this vlog after this weekend and start a new one on Monday with a vlog project of some kind. I pulled the card video or vlog project, and therefore we decided that after that video is when I would do a vlog project instead of trying to smush it into an existing vlog. So that's what we're doing today. And the video project in question that we're going to be doing is I am going to be going through different subgenres that I love and seeing which of those subgenres I like the most, trying to figure out what is my favorite subgenres. We're going to be starting one of those projects today, and today's one is going to be mythology books. We're going to be reading 3 mythology inspired books that fall into the category of my preference. Within mythology, my favorite type of mythology is women who have previously been either feared or even vilified by the myths that they are in, and we get the story from their perspective. Perfect examples of this one is the most popular one being Circe by Madeline Miller, of course, The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichek, or Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. Those are some of my absolute favorite mythology books of all time. Therefore, getting those perspectives from women who history hated. I love seeing kind of like a comeback story for a woman. So we've got 3 of those here today, and we're going to see how I fare with them. The first one that I have is Medea, which is the story of the witch from the Argonauts, or Jason and the Argonauts, whatever you want to call it. Medea is a little bit more, I suppose, nuanced or complex in the sense, well, she's kind of along the same lines as Circe. She's the villain, sort of, but she is very much deemed like sorceress, witch, etc. She's not necessarily deemed a good character, and she's definitely never the protagonist. So this one I'm very excited for, and we're going to be getting her story. So this one is Greek mythology inspired. We have 2 Greek mythologies in here, and I'm hoping that I will love this. I have heard really good things. The Argonauts is not really my favorite of the kind of big Greek epics, so hopefully this will redeem that for me a little bit. The next one that I have is The Morrigan by Kim Curran. This one is about the Morrigan. In this one, I think we're seeing it more as a little bit of a Lilith story. If you know of the story of Lilith, where she was actually Adam's first wife, and then she got cast out because she didn't obey or whatever. I think it's more along those lines. I think it's more like a woman in a man's world, I think is what we're going to be looking at here. From what I have read is more about men fearing the amount of power a woman can amass for herself, and how that eventually makes her become something to be feared as opposed to revered. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. Kim Curran's got another one that's just recently come out, which is about Bridget, who is a Gallic or Irish goddess who then got co-opted by the Catholic Church so that they could basically continue to uphold certain elements of paganism so that they wouldn't alienate people that were slowly converting. So I would really like to read that. So hopefully I will love this one, so that then I can get to that one. And then the last one that I have is Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. This is probably the most popular one, the most well-known one from this stack. This one is, of course, the story of Medusa. Now, I know that this isn't Natalie Haynes' first work. Natalie Haynes has written several Greek mythology retellings. Yeah, so we've got The Amber Fury, The Children of Jocasta, and A Thousand Ships. So again, another author where if I like this one, I can go read those ones. So yeah, at the moment, there are definitely other mythology books that I would be excited to read, but I'm in a bit of a Greek mythology slump. I think that we got a little bit oversaturated with the Greek mythology. So I'd say the one I'm most excited for is The Morrigan on that basis, because again, it's just impossible to avoid all the Greek stuff, it would seem. We haven't even had any Roman stuff, which isn't hugely different to the Greek stuff, but just the cultural differences, even if they're the same gods, would be interesting. I don't know. This one, obviously the story of Perseus, but from the perspective of Medusa. And obviously Medusa has become quite an icon in recent years of the way that stories always hero worship men. This is a story of a woman who is repeatedly wronged throughout history. Once you reread the myth and more women reread the myth, we're like, hold on a second. So I'm really excited to see what Natalie Haynes does with this newfound love and interest in Medusa, and I hope it adds a lot of nuance to the conversation. So I'm very excited for all of these. Medea is probably the one I know the least about, on the basis like I've read the Argonautus, but that's it. Again, I didn't like it enough to research more into it, so she's the one I know the least about. The Morrigan, I know as much as you can know about the Morrigan, because Gallic mythology didn't really get written down the same way as you see in Greco-Roman or even in Norse mythology with the Eddas, or what you even see in Egyptian mythology. It didn't get written down the same way. It passed down mostly orally, which means that there will be a lot of things that are lost, or a lot of things that have discrepancies as they get, you know, Chinese whispered down throughout the generations. So I know as much as I think we can know about the Morrigan in a cultural sense, because my Irish history is quite limited. I'm really excited to see what the author does to contextualize her instead. So this is definitely the one I'm most excited for. This is the one that I feel like will probably surprise me the least, because who doesn't know about Medusa? I've got a lot of things going on. I'm excited to give them a try. I think I'm going to sandwich the Greeks on the basis that then I'm not going to get too fatigued with the Greek mythology. I think if I did those back to back, it might impact my enjoyment of them. So I'm going to go Medea, then the Morrigan, and then Medusa. I love that also all of these are women with the M name. And I didn't do that on purpose, but they're all M's. I'm very excited to give these a try. I'm hoping that I will love them, because again, this is a niche subgenre that I really, really do love. And I'm hoping that it lives up to those expectations. We're going to start with Medea. I will start it out once I'm like maybe 100 or so pages in. I'll check in, give some thoughts, and we'll go from there. We'll see how I'm faring. All right, vlog, I'm here to check in because I have read the first part almost of Medea, so I am now on page 50, so I thought it would be a good time to let you know my initial thoughts on her as a character and on the writing style, and whether I guess whether I think this is going to be for me. Because with Greek mythology there are some character relationships that you know for certain, and then there are ones that, oh, it might be, it might not be, it's changeable. One of the ones that I did know for certain is that Medea is the niece of Circe. She is the daughter of Aeetes, who is Circe's brother, and therefore granddaughter of Helios, and she is a witch, much like her aunt Circe. I wasn't expecting that we would actually see Circe in this book. She's not in it for long. She's just in a few chapters at the start. I don't know if we'll see her again. I really like that she comes in as someone who is inspirational, I guess, to Medea in a way, but also not like a mentor or an icon. We can just appreciate someone or see ourselves in someone without that person having to have like a direct involvement. Now, the relationship between Circe and Medea is interesting. I love the way that Circe is depicted in here. She's arguably colder than you would get in Madeline Miller's one, but you could definitely read this as a sequel to Circe. See Circe depicted in here and it'd be like, oh my god, there she is. I really do think that Medea is going to make for a really fascinating character, because it starts with the myth where she turns her brother into a pig, and it's done in quite grotesque detail here, because it's only on the first page. I'll read it out. When I was a child, I turned my brother into a pig. I found it amusing at the time to watch his bones break and hear the fleshy popping as his muscles and tendons transformed. I giggled when he screamed, as his nose smeared into his snout and a little curly tail sprouted from his swollen pink behind. Nobody else laughed. That sets the tone of the kind of person we're dealing with. Not because she's evil. Further down the page, it goes on to describe how her brother would abuse her and her little sister, and that while she was rather indifferent to abuse, she didn't really care. Her father's also abusive. She doesn't care. However, we do see that the little sister does, and she takes it to heart. So it already comes from a protective nature, and it comes from women protecting women. We see it when Medea is later discussing about how abusive her father is towards her mother. So we see these depictions of a woman not wanting to tolerate men very, very quickly, which is exactly what I want from my villainesses, I'm not gonna lie. So I'm very, very excited to see how I'm going to fare with the rest of the book now that we're going to get into what I suspect is the main chunk. I've sectioned out parts and we've got a really big chunk in the next section that will potentially, I guess, be the bulk of the story, and then we'll probably have some falling action, and then we'll have like a bit of an epilogue, I suspect, but I'm not sure. I'm really excited to see her really come into her own. So I'm hoping that I will continue to love the writing style, and more importantly, continue to love Medea. Hey vlog, I'm checking in because I am now halfway through Medea, so I thought it would be a sensible time to update you before I end up finishing the entire thing. I did actually read through a decent chunk of this yesterday, and I am now on page 214. And we have definitely begun to see a lot of the bulk, I suppose, of the initial part of her appearance in the Argonautus. It's been very interesting seeing Jason in here because, in a similar vein to, I guess, what we see of Circe, you get to see Odysseus in the role that you see in the story, and then you also get to see that unravel. At the moment, we are seeing very much Jason as we expect him to be in the Argonautus, and I'm just wondering if we will see any kind of shift in that, and if we will see possible implications, I guess, of that afterwards. So I'm really excited to continue, and this is actually making me want to reread the Argonautus. I've only read the Argonautus once. As I said at the beginning of the video, I was fine with it. I've never really felt compelled to reread it or see an adaptation or see any other media about it, but now I kind of want to. I don't know if I want to reread it or if I want to see if I can find an adaptation to watch for this. You know, like I might. Why not? It's been a good time. I'm really loving the prose style in here. It's really digestible and really easy to get through. And I'm really loving Medea as a character. She's such a fascinating character to follow because she's so complex. And the way that we're tackling things like abuse, and the way that we're tackling lots of things in here to do with the interpersonal relationships of the characters. We got to see Atalanta, which was cool. At the minute, I'm not sure if it's going to be a 5 or a 4. It depends on where the action goes and where the other half of this book goes, and how much we play with the Argonautus as a story, and how much we adjust from there. So I'm excited to continue on and see how I fare with that latter half, and if it will really get me to change my mind on the Argonautus and be interested in it again, or if it will be, okay, no, this was actually sufficient reminder of the story and now I don't need to reread. Either or, but we'll see. But yeah, as I said, fantastic protagonist to be following. So I'm going to go and read a little bit more, and then I'll probably be able to update you maybe later today, fingers crossed. Alright vlog, I did spend the morning reading Medea, and I am now finished the second half of this book. Oh my god, the second half of this book. I loved it so much. Like, the thing is, I knew where this was going to go, right? You know, if you know the story of Medea, you know what she does and you know where it's going to go, but you know you've only heard that story from a man's perspective before. Oh my god. It's so toxic and so intense and so messy, and oh my god, do you learn to hate Jason so freaking much. Oh my god, I loved this. This was great. 5 stars. I thought that I was not in my Greek myth era. It turns out that if I get a Greek villain myth, I'm still here. You know, you'll never lose me. I loved it. I don't really have much more to say, almost, because spoilers. I loved the female rage that we get here, the feminine rage. I loved seeing Medea as a mother as well. For what that's worth, if you know the myth, obviously content warnings. If you know the myth, you know what I mean by that. But I just loved seeing this corruption arc that we see her go on, and that it's because of a fucking man, because it's always because of a fucking man. And I loved seeing her still, like, what things she decided to cling to and what things he eroded away from her, and the way that all the men in her life had treated her. And I loved her so much. Oh my god, I had an amazing time. Now, this is one, I did say that you could kind of read this as a sequel to Circe. You can, but tonally it's very different. Circe, it shows Circe as not being as malevolent as you think she is. This is one where it's explaining why Medea would be as malevolent as she is. Obviously, the myths are very different. Circe turns some men into pigs. Medea, it's a whole other story. Again, I won't tell you what the myth is because you might want to go into this blind. I mean, I don't know how you can have spoilers for stories that are about 5,000 years old, but that's not the point. I love her so much, and I love the way she's depicted, and I feel for her, and I feel so angry and sad and upset for her throughout this whole book, and I think it's just done phenomenally in that sense. So if you're wanting a Greek myth and you're wanting it with some female rage and you're not wanting it to be dude bro, Medea is one that I would highly recommend. I had an amazing time. That does mean that now I'm going to go and start The Morrigan by Kim Curran. This is the one that is Gallic mythology, so I am hoping that this will be something a bit different to what I've read in the past regarding mythology. Also, I'm hoping that I will love this because then I can read the other Kim Curran one as well. Like, I'm hoping she can be like a new favorite author by author. That would be great. But also just witnessing historical Ireland, I think, is going to be fantastic. So I'm excited for this one. I'm going to go dive in right now. One down so far, and we're starting the next one. This is an incredibly unflattering angle, but I'm checking in because I have now read the first 65 pages of The Morrigan, so I thought I would check in before I get much further. I'm really liking this so far. There's a lot going on though, Jesus Christ. Look at how, I need to show you this, that you're not going to believe me. You need to see, so we've got a dramatis personae at the start here, right? So the cast of characters starts here. End here. Like, that is a lot of characters that are in here. It's very, very packed full of stuff going on. And I think it's only going to keep accelerating. I don't even think that come in heavy and then slow down. I think this is that kind of book. I'm really liking the way that we're seeing the Morrigan portrayed at the moment as well. We're seeing her as flawed, but not in a way, just seeing her as very human. You know, she's just flawed, and that makes her, I suppose, relatable. And I really enjoy that. Her existence isn't commentary. Her actions will be, I suspect, but her existence isn't part of the commentary. And so often when we're reading the story about women, especially in mythology and these feminist retellings or reclaimings almost, the very existence of these women feels like commentary, and I understand why that is. But with someone like the Morrigan, it not being the commentary, that her existing is a thing, and then her actions are what the commentary is, I think is really cool. So I'm looking forward to continuing, but yeah, I just thought I'd check in. I'll probably check in again when I'm about halfway through. So far, so good. I'm really liking the writing style. It's very digestible. I'm curious about where this plot's going to go, to be honest, because at the minute it's all very divine. It's very, in a Greco-Roman sense, it's very Mount Olympus at the moment. We're just seeing a lot of divine beings at the moment more than anything. With the way the dramatis personae is, I'm suspecting that we're going to get more human intervention, like more human connections later on. But at the moment, it's just really been Tuatha Dé Danann. We'll see where that goes from here, but I'm glad that I'm reading it, and I'm glad that I'm enjoying it. Good morning, vlog. I am here to check in because I am now much further into the Morrigan. I am on page 211, so I am about 2/3 of the way in, more or less. So I thought I would check back in. This is impressive. Okay, it's a lot. This book is a lot. It's not one that I would recommend for people who are not seasoned either fantasy or like real full-on mythology, like not mythology retellings. Like if you're familiar with like the depth of mythology, if that makes sense. Not necessarily Gallic mythology, but mythology, where you have to know loads of names, there will be repeat names, and you have to know sort of like who is from which faction, all of those things, and they're unusual names to anyone who is not Gallic as well. If you struggle with a load of names and you struggle with a load of places and who is where, like you get in epic fantasy or in actual mythology, then this would be a struggle. This isn't like other mythology retellings where they try and really winnow down the amount of people and amount of places and things that you're going to need to remember to make it easy for you. This one doesn't do that like a lot of the others do. Now granted, with Gallic mythology, I think people are normally at a disadvantage because a lot of people don't know anything about it, but this one also has history in it. So we have it where Morrigan at the start as she is with the Tuatha Dé Danann the entire time, and then it starts to go where she goes into historical Ireland during the time where paganism was still at its peak. You need to know all about a load of the Tuatha Dé Danann, and then you need to know also about the history of Ireland if you want to have like a full grasp on this. I don't have a full grasp on it. There are people in here that I don't know if they are real or fictional. There are Tuatha Dé Danann in here that I I assume are real, but I'd never heard of before. However, if you are a fan of Ghoul Song, which is what was in not my last vlog, the one before, I do mention it in my last vlog as well though, because I read the novellas. We do have some of the characters from there. So we do have Fola in here, and if you read the novellas, then we do have both Balor and Rowan, who are of the Fomorians, in here as well. So we do have some repeat characters. So if that is a series that you enjoyed and you kind of want to see them again in a different font, then this might be of interest to you. I've been having a really good time with it, but it does require a lot of brain power. I definitely haven't been picking it up as quickly as I thought I would, because there is a lot to follow. This definitely feels more like epic fantasy in that sense that it requires a few more cylinders to be firing. Thankfully, we do have this huge dramatis personae at the start, which means that then I can situate myself a little bit, which is good. If someone comes up and I'm like, can't fully remember who you are for a second. Thankfully, we do tend to like stick to locations as well, just only if there's someone kind of out of place almost that I might need a bit of an assist. But this is a very, very ambitious debut, and I think she's accomplishing it actually. I think as a debut goes, it's doing a really good job of trying to keep this huge cast of characters and all of these events in quite a linear way. I don't feel like she's info dumping on me at any point. I don't feel like she's just word vomiting a load of names and places. I don't feel as though this isn't a concise and coherent and cohesive story, which is a lot to accomplish with everything that she's trying to do. So I really do appreciate that, and I think that I'm going to really enjoy reading more by this author. So that's excellent. That's exactly what I wanted. So I've got only a third of it left, so we'll see how it ends. But yeah, it's a complex story, and I think that it's being handled really, really well, especially for a debut. I'm looking forward to continuing. This is one that I would potentially, I guess, say you need to maybe be a bit more careful with either when you want to read it, or if you are not the kind of person who wants to consult the dramatis personae every now and then, if you're the kind of person who just wants the story and doesn't want to kind of get more information about this time period, about the mythology or anything like that, this might not be for you. I would say if you're a fan of Ghoul Song, I think you'll be a fan of this. It's got that same vibe, but bear in mind that this is a standalone, so a lot of what happens in Ghoul Song kind of gets compressed down a little bit, but I think that it's done really, really well, and I am so glad that I am reading this, and I am looking forward to continuing. So that's exactly what I'm going to go do now, and I will check back in, I guess, once I'm done. All right, vlog, I am here to do a quick check-in because I have in fact now finished The Morrigan by Kim Curran. I really liked this. I've given it a 4-star. I think it's come out on Corpile, and obviously that's really good. I had such an amazing time. I can't believe this is a debut. It is so complex and so layered. A lot of the time in standalones that can be to its detriment, and I've seen much more seasoned authors struggle with this level of complexity and this many characters in a standalone. I definitely have to commend it for that. I think I would have preferred this to have been a duology. I think if we had a little bit more breathing room, it would have been nice, but I understand why it's a standalone, because I think it might have lost its legs a little bit. Like, I don't like it when authors just eke stuff out and drag stuff out either. So it's a bit of a complicated one, because I think that because I'm a series reader, I think I would have probably gotten on better with it in that case. This is also one that, even though it is a mythology, as I said before, I would definitely recommend it more to fantasy readers than your typical, like, this is someone I would recommend more to fans of Shauna Lawless than I would to fans of Madeline Miller, for example. So even though it's a mythology and it fits in this vlog in that sense, it's a mythology about a woman who is normally seen as, at the very least, a fearsome, if not malevolent, mythological person. However, in this one, I definitely feel like this mishmash of mythological part that we get with the Tuatha Dé Danann, with also then actual history, and the sheer amount of characters that we get, I think would be quite overwhelming to someone who is not accustomed to reading a load of names and places. I had a wonderful time with this. I'm definitely going to be buying Bridget, which comes out I think later on this year in paperback, so I will wait for that and I will buy that, and I'm really looking forward to getting to it. So another author added to the mythology repertoire. Huzzah! I love it when that happens. So yeah, I'm excited to continue on reading this author's works, because I think this was phenomenal for a debut. I have also started Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes. Yesterday was a bit hectic and I just didn't have a chance to check in, so I've got like a longer check-in than usual at the minute. But I am now on page 65 before, so I have started it. Obviously, this is a story, out of the three, this is the one I was most familiar with because I have read up on Medusa before. I'm really liking Natalie Haynes's writing style. I think she's doing a really good job of presenting Medusa as someone with a voice and not as this scary villainous character that we usually see her as, and I'm really appreciating that. I'm hoping that this is going to get really meaty and kind of like Medea. I want her to be angry and I want to support her wrongs as much as her rights, if that makes sense. This is going to, I think, be quite an intense read. If you know the story of Medusa, you know where this is going to go, and I'm assuming that Natalie Haynes is not going to shy away from that and is going to lean into it. So I am really excited to see how I fare with Natalie Haynes's choices within what she's telling of Medusa's story. I know that obviously with the Morrigan, my knowledge was more limited, and then Medea, it is a character that I knew their basic story, but not a character I've ever been particularly invested in. And then with Natalie Haynes, there's a lot more riding on this one on the basis that she is a character I have a lot more investment in. She's a much more well-known character. She's got a lot more work to do to get you on side and make this book feel worth your while, I suppose, it being something new. So I'm really excited to see how she's going to do that. But I'm really enjoying the prose style so far. I'm really sinking into it quickly. So hopefully I'll be able to check back in once I've gotten a little bit further in, and I'll be able to give you more in-depth thoughts on how I think she's faring with the story. Hey vlog, I'm checking in because I have now gotten to the end of part 3 of Medusa of Stoneblind. So I thought I would check in, before I finish the book. I am really enjoying this one. I would say that obviously because it's the one that I already know the myth, is the one that's providing the least amount of novelty. Like, I am not shocked or surprised by anything. It is just more about the sentiment of this book. The purpose of this book is more about how it's making you feel, the feelings it's evoking. And this is the kind of book where I think a lot of us have all seen that statue that was created of Medusa where she's holding Perseus's head instead of the other way around. I'll see if I can leave a picture here. And I think a lot of women, especially women who know history and who know mythology, but I think a lot of women just in general felt a lot when we saw that statue unveiled. When we saw that depiction, it evoked emotion, and it definitely did for me. And this book is doing a similar thing. It is bringing forth that emotion of get it, girl, of the point where it's like, do you know what? Why not? The thing is that she's not even villainous really in this, and that's what I think makes it all the more poignant. I'm really loving these mythologies that keep having these Gaston kind of men, you know who I mean? Everyone around loves them, and therefore no one's gonna question it. No one's going to question what they're doing there, what rights they have. They can just take and take and take. And I am really loving the way those are being depicted in these myths that I've been reading, and I'm really loving it in this one. I'm having a fantastic time, and so far, I'm looking forward to finishing. I'm wondering how emotional I'm going to feel by the end of this. I've not cried at a mythology book before, I don't think ever. They're not ones that normally make me cry, but they are ones that evoke emotion. So I'm curious to see how I'm going to fare with this one. All right, vlog, I'm checking in because I have now finished Stoneblind, and I really did appreciate this book. All right, vlog, I'm checking in because I have now finished Stoneblind, and I really did appreciate this book. It's not a 5-star more than anything because this is the one that least shocked me. This was the one that just lived up to my expectations. I know it sounds weird, but it was a very emotional read, and I really appreciate everything that Natalie Haynes was saying within this book. I think this was a phenomenal story. I think it did a really good job of re-angling Medusa in the way that we wanted to see her, in the way that if you're wanting to read a feminist retelling of Medusa, the way you'd want to see her. She doesn't make her a saint, she doesn't make her an angel, she makes her a person. And I really like that. While I don't have a huge amount more to say on the ending here than everything that I expressed in my previous update regarding the sentiment of this book is coming across, and I think it does a good job of that, knowing where it ends, of course. But I think we need these books to come to be. I think that so much of history and mythology and folklore are written either by men or written by people who want to use them to invoke fear in others, right? Who want to send a message of how you're supposed to behave. And a lot of these myths are written in a time period where what we expect of people's behavior is very different to what we have now. So having these stories reclaimed by women for women, I think is really important. And that is my biggest takeaway whenever I read these retellings, is that I want more books written by women for women that are reclaiming historical and mythological characters and figures. That is what I got from this, and I couldn't have asked for more. The same can be said really for the others. Coming to the end of this vlog, we have 4 stars for Stone Blind, 5 stars for Medea, and 4 stars for the Morrigan. So a very successful vlog, and I really did love all of these, and they're all ones that I would highly recommend. They are all authors I'd pick up something else by. I think Rosie Hewlett has another mythology retelling that I was less interested in, but I might try now that I have read this one. Natalie Haynes has at least 2 other mythology retellings, which again, I wasn't that fussed about. One's a retelling of the Odyssey, I think, and one is a retelling of the Iliad. I can't remember. I wasn't fussed about those, but I might now, and I would definitely be picking up Bridget. So the one who is like, I would definitely pick up another book by them is Kim Curran. The other 2, I'd look at reviews and stuff, and they're ones that I would consider picking up. So overall, very successful vlog, not only in terms of that I had a really good time with these books, but also that as potential I found authors who I want to read more books by. Overall, very, very happy with how this vlog turned out. But that is it for me for today. So let me know if you've read any of these. Let me know if, based on my enjoyment of these, if you have any other recommendations for me of especially vilified women from mythology and history. If you have any of their stories that you would recommend. And the only other one I think I'm eyeing up at the moment is there are a few Morgana or like Morgan Le Fay ones that I would be interested in picking up. Potentially. They're the only ones I can think of at the minute. So if you know any other mythology retellings about vilified women in history and mythology that you think I would like on this basis, I'm here for it. I'd love to know. But yes, thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them. And I will hopefully catch you in another one soon.